This program does not provide medical advice. We assume no liability for the information provided on MindForce Radio. Please consult your physician before beginning any exercise or nutrition program.
If you need an honest strength coach who's the real deal, contact Bob at webstrengthcoach.com.
Direct from MindForce Radio, this is Natural Strength Night with Maximum Bob. On Natural Strength Night, we don't talk about the other things Bob likes to talk about. Tonight, we only talk strength training. When I say strength training, I don't mean training like punk-ass goons in the muscle magazines who jacked up on juice, steroids, and PEDs. I mean natural strength. Strength built on good food, heavy weights, and no shortcuts. If you want to learn about real natural strength, weight training the right way, the old school way, stick around. Bob and his friends just might teach you something.
He's here, the host of Natural Strength Night, Maximum Bob Whelan.
Tonight, our guest is my good friend, the Fire Fighter Strongman, Jim Duggan. Me and Jim have a bonding in this area, too. We are firefighter brothers. I was a firefighter in EMT for 8 years in the Air Force way back in the 70s and early 80s. Big Jim is 51 years old and stands a massively built 6 feet tall. He is a lifetime drug-free raw powerlifter and strongman competitor in the 275 and 242 pound weight classes. Jim had a bench press that was over 500 pounds, natural with no bench shirt, and a deadlift of 688 pounds. He also won the Bob Hoffman Strongman Challenge in 2000, held in York, Pennsylvania. Jim is a captain in the New York City Fire Department and is assigned to Engine Company 231 in Brownsville, Brooklyn. He has written dozens of great strength training articles for the Dinosaur Files and naturalstrength.com, where he has his own column in the special features section. Big Jim, welcome back to Natural Strength Night.
Bob, it's great to be back.
First question, what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see people making today with their training?
You go to a gym now, one of the things is everybody, it seems, and this is one of the things that I noticed going to a commercial gym, everybody wears a belt. They wear a training belt or a lifting belt for just about every exercise. I can see doing it for squats or deads, but you don't need it for curls. You don't need it when you're on a machine. And when I worked out, when I trained, one of the things I learned at Bruno's was not to wear a belt, not to use a belt. And you actually get stronger, and your back gets stronger by not wearing it and strengthening your back muscles to the point where you don't need a belt at all. Maybe they want to look cool wearing it. I don't know, but it's just one of the things you see in the gym now. And I think another mistake people do is, and this is something that's been going on for years, and it's been started, decades ago, was body part training. Going into the gym and I'm going to work my arms today, and then tomorrow I'm going to work my legs, and then the next day you're going to work your chest, some stupid thing.
They think it's advanced when it's really, usually when I hear people talk about body part training, I think they just picked up their first copy of Muscle and Fiction.
Exactly. They read that, they think that you're going to get big that way, and you're not. You train your body as a whole. Your body is not just a collection of body parts. You train your body as a whole to get stronger and get bigger. Just as you wouldn't just eat for your arms or your legs, you wouldn't just sleep for your arms and your legs. You train your body.
You see guys using straps for ridiculous things. Just like you said, I mean, even training for deadlifts, it helps not to use the straps because you want to get your grip stronger. But you go to the gym now and you see guys using straps for like rowing and all kinds of stuff, curls. They just want to look cool with the straps.
I've seen guys do it with flat pull downs, which I would think would be dangerous, right? I mean, you get your hands caught up there, but I've seen that. Curls, deadlifts. And like you said, your hands get stronger by learning to deadlift and to grip things without the straps. The straps become a crutch. Your hands get weaker. And that's not the whole. You want your body to get stronger. The straps are not going to make you stronger. You're going to get stronger by strengthening your grip and by working it without straps, without any other aids.
And Jim, where are you doing most of your training now? Are you doing it mostly in the fire department gym, or do you have a commercial gym that you go to?
I have a gym that's about 5 minutes from my house that I go to. It's not a bad place. It's got decent equipment, and it's close. It's convenient. And I also have stuff at home. Unfortunately, I don't have a garage, but I have room. I can work out in my house. I can work outside when it's nice out, and I can between here and working out at the gym, I can get my training in.
Are there any fads in strength training today that you wish you could change?
The general population that works out, that trains, they're just brought up and they're raised on reading the muscle comics, Muscle and Fiction, and some of these other magazines that really don't offer much in the way of useful strength training information. I mean, obviously they have to sell their magazines and they have to make money, but they're not offering anything useful in terms of training information. Unfortunately, most people, they go to the store, you buy these magazines, or get them online now. It's not like, the old Iron Man magazine or the old, Strength and Health magazine, where the information that was put out was useful. You can use it. You can improve. You can get stronger by reading it. Now, what's out there now, it's sad. It's just, like you said, muscle and fiction. Muscle and fiction, like you said before.
There's not a lot of good information out there as far as magazines go. There's good websites, but there's not a lot of good magazines out there. Yeah,
that's the sad part. When I started working out, I guess, when I was in my teens, you can still get, muscular development on the magazine, at a magazine stand. Iron Man was kind of hard to find, but it was out there. You can get Iron Man. There was some good magazines out there, and I think over the years, in the last 20, 30 years, it's just, the magazine industry has gone downhill. I used to look forward to buying Muscular Development and Strength and Health, and looking forward to getting it every month at the newsstand. It was something I actually look forward to.
Yeah, I couldn't wait till the next one came out.
One of the things I started reading Muscular Development, I guess I was around 16, and not every newsstand had it, and I used to look forward to going to the one place that I knew had it, like every month, and getting it, and it was cool. It was a nice thing to look forward to. When you were a kid, you didn't have the internet. You couldn't just go on your phone and look this stuff up. You had to wait a month. You had to wait till it came out, and it was worth the wait. It was a good quality magazine.
How old were you, Jim? And how did you find out when you first found out about peary-rader's Iron Man?
It was just pure dumb luck. I just stepped into it. I didn't, I saw it and I read about it, and that's how I got into it. And then once I joined Bruno's, I was 19 when I joined Bruno's. Larry had, in addition to York, Strength and Health, and Muscular Development, he had Ironmans. He didn't have anything Weeder that was not allowed in his gym, but anything Hoffman or peary-rader, he had.
Same with me. That's all I read. And I love how you said it was just a stroke of dumb luck, because me too. The first 11 or 12 years of training, I never heard of Iron Man or peary-rader. You couldn't get it on the newsstands. You had to be lucky enough to know someone who knew about it. I never heard of it. And so it wasn't until I was in the Air Force that I heard about it. And just by luck, I just met someone in the gym who had one, and I signed up. But yeah, that was a great magazine. It's just too bad that after 86 it got ruined.
Like I said, reading Iron Man, that covered everything. It covered, weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman. And the articles are really, really good. And I was, a teenager. You don't know a good article from a bad article when you're that age, but there was just something about that magazine. It was quality, and it was just a good thing to read. And the same with the Hoffman magazines. And by the way, 2 days ago was Bob Hoffman's birthday.
How old would he have been?
117.
Yep.
You talk about somebody who contributed to the Iron Game, and Bill Hinburn, I get his email newsletter every day. Wrote a nice piece about him the other day. And you talk about somebody who contributed to the Iron Game and was responsible for putting barbells in the hands of more people than anybody else, was, I think, That was the way that Bill Hinburn referred to him. And it was. I mean, how many people grew up with York and using York barbells and York equipment?
Yeah, I swore by York. I wouldn't use any other. I mean, I think probably for the first 40 years of my training, I never had any other weight except for York. You know, it's only been in the last 10 years or so that I've got a few Ivanko things, but it's been, you know, I grew up just like you. It had to be York or I didn't want it.
And that was dumb luck too. I joined Bruno's. It was just on a whim. It was a gym that was located close to where I lived, and I just stepped into it. I was very lucky, and it was York equipment all the way. Everything was York. Larry would drive down to York in his Pinto and pick up the equipment himself.
Yeah, Larry sounded like a great guy. I wish I could have met him.
Yeah, you would have liked him a lot. He was a hell of a man, and a lot of us from Bruno's, we still get together, we still keep in touch, and we still throw around the York weights. And I still have I have a lot of York stuff here. I collect it now. But one of the good things to know is that York seems to be making a comeback. They're offering some good equipment now, and they're offering a nice line of equipment and products, and they seem to be on the way back, which is good.
There was a period of time I think it was in the 90s, late 90s, when I think York was owned by a Chinese company. I think Roger LaPointe was talking about that during his podcast, but there were some low times when their equipment was breaking, and it was just sad to hear that. That's when I started to buy some Ivanko equipment, but I'm glad that York is coming back.
It's, like they say, it's the strongest name in fitness, and it's great to have them back. Because I have a lot of York stuff here. I have a nice collection of the old Strength and Health and Muscular Development magazines, and it's good to look back, but it's also good to know that they're back today, and you know the future's looking bright, hopefully.
Yeah, I have several thousand pounds. All my stuff, practically, probably 90-something% of my stuff is York. Once you buy that stuff, it's good forever. You never got to replace it. So I probably bought most of my stuff in the 80s, the stuff that I still have. I love the old York stuff.
And it's as good today as it was back then, I'm sure, right? The quality, it's still, you know, it's probably still the bar, a 30-year-old York bar is probably as good today or better today than most of the stuff that's made, you know, you find in the gym today, in a commercial gym today.
I think you get together once a year, don't you, and have a toast to Bruno?
We try to get together every year around the holidays. So actually it'll be soon. Hopefully in the next few weeks we'll get together for dinner, and we try to get as many guys as possible. It's hard to keep in touch with people. We'll try to get about 7 or 8 of us together. We'll go to a local restaurant where we used to, you know, go after workouts and after contests. We'll have a toast to Larry, and we'll talk about the old times.
Like Jack LaLanne, you do something every year on your birthday, and you were talking about that in your last podcast. So I think your birthday's in July, right?
It's July 20th.
What did you do this year on your birthday?
This year what I did was stones. I took my 180-pound stone, and I tried to do as many reps as possible in 1 hour. And I did. I was able to do 64 in just under an hour. And,
is that cleaning the stone, or cleaning and pressing it, or what did you do with it?
Cleaned it, and I brought it up to my shoulder. Clean, up to the shoulder, lower it, and then back up again.
Yeah, that's a hell of a workout.
Yeah, truer words were never spoken. It was my hands were beat up pretty good. My forearms were beat up pretty good, and I was very sore, obviously, for a couple of days. But it was. I didn't think I would be that sore afterwards because it was only for an hour. But the next couple of days, I was hurt, and my forearms were beat up.
You must have been drenched in sweat.
The problem is once you sweat and you get sweat on the stone, now the stone, you get dirt. You get dirt in your eye. You have to wipe down the stone. You have to wipe, you need a towel to wipe yourself down. You lose some time cleaning yourself up because the old saying, "Here's mud in your eye." Well, that's what happens sometimes. Yeah, it was hot, and yeah, I was sweating. I was dirty. I was filthy, and my forearms looked like raw chopped meat afterwards. Yeah,
because you don't use those leather protective covers that Roger sells. I know you do them with just your bare forearms on the rough granite, right?
Yeah, the gauntlets, I think they're called, right? I don't wear them. I don't know. I just think it looks kind of cool to have have you look like you been through the ringer after a tough workout. I just thought it looked pretty kind of cool.
It looks cool to have your forearms looking like raw hamburger meat, right, Jim?
Anybody listening out there? Yeah, it's really cool.
As a lifetime drug-free lifter, what training volume has worked best for you? I know some guys like to train twice a week. Some like to train 3 times a week, whole body. And I think you've done both. Tell us about the different things you've tried and which way works best for you.
I tried both ways. I tried 3 days a week, and and currently what I'm doing is twice a week. And I think you really have to be attuned to your own body, and I think you have to be smart enough to know what you're capable of doing. And if you can handle 3 days a week, then by all means, train according to what's best for you. Right now, I will lift. I like to lift twice a week, and I train my whole body. I don't train, heavy or light. I try to train, as hard as I can. There might be times if I'm doing one of my favorite exercises is doing, good mornings. I might not always go heavy on the good mornings. I might alternate 1 week where I go for heavy weight and low reps. The following week, lighter weight and higher reps. But the other exercises, I try to stay. I'll try to train hard. And twice a week, lifting usually works out pretty good with me. I might be able to train 3 times a week for a short period of time. I don't push it. If I feel myself feeling sluggish or sore, then I'll back off and go back to twice a week. But I think either way is good. I think for me, myself, training twice a week heavy works out fine. Also, too, is I'm 51 years old. If I was 31, I might be a little bit different. I might be able to lift, work out 3 days a week all year. As you get older, you got to be a little bit smarter, and you have to, train smarter, not harder sometimes. And you have to listen to your body, and you know your body better than anybody else. And if something works for you, then you continue. And if it's something that's not working, if it's something that's holding you back or causing you pain or discomfort, then it's time to reevaluate what you're doing and change.
Yeah, I'm 61 now. I definitely know what you're talking about. And sometimes I've trained twice a week most of my life, but sometimes I change it a little bit and don't even hold it to twice in 7 days. I put a little bit of flexibility in it and go twice every 7 to 10 days. Sometimes that extra day or two of rest, I'll train 1 day and take 3 or 4 days off and then train again. But I agree with you. About twice a week works best for me. 3 times a week can work. I've had a few experiments where I've tried it. And the main thing with me, if 3 times a week works for me, it has to be a lower volume workout. Like if I train Monday, Wednesday, Friday, if you change the routine around a little bit and maybe not make every one of them whole body or not make every one of them long. If you have just 3 or 4 exercises, it's possible to make it work. But if you got a little more volume, then I think twice a week works a lot better.
Absolutely, I agree. I think if I was training 3 times a week, I wouldn't be deadlifting more than once a week. For me, I get best results if I deadlift once a week. If I try to do it twice, it's counterproductive. I squatted twice a week. I've been able to do that, but again, I prefer just squatting once a week. And bench pressing, I've always benched for a long time. I've always benched once a week. Even when I was competing, I would have 1 bench press workout a week. I was always worried about overdoing it, doing too many bench presses, and getting to a point where a lot of people do when you hit your 40s and sometimes even earlier. Benching, you injure your shoulders. You get impingement. You get rotator cuff issues, and it's something I was always in the back of my mind, even when I was competing. I always wanted to avoid it. I wanted to avoid having any issues with my shoulders because that's a tough injury to come back from.
Yeah, I agree. That's one thing I'm doing right now. I'm experimenting with it, and this is what I'm doing. I train twice a week, but my upper body, I still do the main workout of the 1 day squat, 1 day deadlift, but I rotate the upper body into 3 different things. So let's just say you train Monday, Friday. I do the Monday, Friday workout, but I have a 3rd day, so I have an A, B, C. So I'll do upper body A on Monday, upper body B on Friday, then upper body C on Monday, then start again with upper body A. So I'm getting a little bit extra rest, and that seems to work pretty good. So I'm still training twice a week, but I'm fitting 3 upper body into it. I keep the legs pretty much the same, because it's mainly squat and deadlift. But I like to experiment, because sometimes you find things that, especially when you get older, my shoulders definitely need more recovery. Putting the 3 days in there seems to work better for me now.
I think that's a pretty good idea, rotating the exercises. I do that sometimes too. I think it's a smart move. And before, we were talking about mistakes you see in the gym. That's something also, and I didn't mention this, guys do entirely too many sets of bench presses, followed by countless sets of incline presses. Then they sometimes they'll do decline presses. And now you get into a point, you're doing 15, 20 sets of some sort of variation of the bench press. And it's just too much. And and everybody wants to bench a lot of weight. Everybody, you go to the gym, that's all they want to know is what you bench. I get it. But to do that many benching, that much bench pressing to the exclusion of overhead pressing, you're just inviting shoulder problems at some point later on. Maybe not now in your 20s, but at some point your shoulders are not going to be. It's just too much work and too much strain on your shoulders, especially your front deltoids. You're inviting shoulder problems down the road.
People put way too much of their ego into that one lift. Bench press is a great lift. We all love to bench and we all love to be proud of our bench press, but it really isn't the most important thing. I mean, you shouldn't judge your whole manhood on that one lift. It's like no one ever says, how much can you bent over row? They never ask you, how much can you squat?
It's a shame, too, because squats or deadlifts are probably a better indicator of your true overall body strength, especially the deadlift. I think that's probably the best and the most accurate way of determining your overall body strength is doing deadlifts.
Yeah, I agree.
It's a tough lift, and when you do it in high reps, and this is something that I didn't really learn until I started training at Iron Island with Dr. Ken and with Drew. Deadlifts for high reps is one hell of a workout, and you can really build tremendous strength by doing high rep deadlifts. And like I said, when I was competing in powerlifting, for me, high reps was anything more than 5. But when I started training in Iron Island, it's true. I mean, for most lifters, 5, anything more than 5, it was considered bodybuilding.
Anything over 5 reps in powerlifting is considered cardio.
Yeah, that's how it was. Usually you did triples. In the Brunos, we did triples. You didn't do doubles because Larry hated doubles. He felt that a double was only a lucky single. So we did triples. But when I started training in Iron Island, I met Drew and Dr. Ken, and they loaded the bar. And, all right, you're going to do 20 reps. 20 reps over 20 sets. How am I doing it? One set of 20? I couldn't believe it, And then I saw how hard Drew trained and how hard they trained over there. I said, wow. And the first time I tried it, I was gassed. I mean, you're exhausted. The results are incredible, and it's a great way to build strength, and you get very strong, and it's a great exercise, and it's a great way to get stronger. High rep deads.
The hard work, I've seen people get results, you have too, with every type of deadlifting. And I've seen people who only do low rep deadlifts and get great results, and I've seen people do high rep deadlifts like Drew and get great results. So I think it all just boils down to how hard you're working. If you're working really hard on the low reps, or if you're working really hard on the high reps, you're going to get good results. If you're adding weight when it gets too light. The progression system that people use is one of the biggest mistakes people make. Is they don't know when to add weight. Because even hard work isn't going to always do it. Because if you're working hard work alone isn't going to get you stronger. People that are smart enough, they train hard and then add weight. And a mistake some people make is they just think working hard alone is going to do it. That's why calisthenics alone aren't going to get you real strong, because you're not adding any more weight. Or just training with light weight all the time and not adding weight. Or training with a weight you're comfortable with, and you've been using that same weight for months and months and months, even though you're working hard. You're not really going to get stronger because you're not increasing the weight. So, and Jim, speaking of this, what are some of the progression systems that you use? Do you have a system, or do you just go by instinct, and when you feel the time is right, add weight? How do you do it?
I usually go by, what I feel, I guess it would be like instinct. You would describe it as instinct. If I'm working out, I will try to do. I'll just take an example of what I've been trying to. Over the summer, I read the book Muscle, Smoke and Mirrors, and I read about Bruce Randall, and I read about his incredible how he used the Good Morning exercise, and he was using over 400 pounds, which was incredible. Wow. And I tried. And I always like doing good mornings. I never had a problem with them. I know a lot of people can't do them, but for whatever reason, I've always had success. It never bothered me, and I was always able to do them without injury, without pain. So I wanted to try to push it, and what I did was I would do the good mornings once a week, usually, and I would either one week I would do it heavy. I would build up to a heavy set of like 6 reps, and then the following week I would back it off a little bit and just do high reps. And I got to a point where I got to about 335 pounds for 6 reps. And
wow.
For my lighter workout, I got up to 235 for 30 reps. And it was, you really feel it afterwards. But I thought the high reps were a good conditioner, and I think it was a good way of keeping myself from going stale from just constantly doing heavy reps. And a lot of times I will do that is I'll take a lift, and I might go, heavy for a couple of weeks where I won't go, higher than 6 reps. And then after like 3 or 4 weeks, I'll back it off, drop the weight a little bit, and go higher. And again, that's something I picked up from Drew and working out at Iron Island. You can still get incredibly strong by doing high rep work. And I've been able to use that in squatting, deadlifting, good mornings. The one exercise I really never got good results with doing high reps was overhead pressing. I just can't get into doing 20 reps overhead. But that's really the only exercise I really never did that. But the squatting, deadlifting, good mornings, and even bent over rowing, I was able to mix in heavy sets, which 6 reps, 5 or 6 reps, and then I would back off and then do higher reps. And it seemed to work.
I never use high reps for upper body. For good mornings, I'm the same as you. I love good mornings. They're one of my favorites. We talked about this on a previous podcast, and I've never got hurt by good mornings either. But that's because I do them with my knees always extremely bent. I mean, I don't have my knees straight and locked at all, and I take a wide stance. So my feet are wider than shoulder width, and my knees are very bent. I mean, you can look from far away and see that I have bent knees. There's no doubt about it. And then, so with your knees very bent and wide-legged, and plus I've been doing them my whole life, I never got hurt. When you get older, your posture, because, that's why both of us walk straight and upright, and we're not bent over and slouched like most people when they get older. We're walking straight, and we're not slouching, and we have the posture of a 25-year-old because all of our spinal muscles are very well exercised. But I think it's, I'm not recommending everyone do the good morning because most people, if they don't know how to do it right, like we do, it can be dangerous, but I would say don't automatically discard the exercise because if you do it right, it can be a very good exercise.
I think so. I think you hit the nail right on the head. And you have to know. You have to do experimentation through trial and error. You know what works for you.
We'll be back with more right after this.
This segment brought to you by VitalNutritionStore.com. Did you know that more than 7 million Americans suffer from coronary heart disease, the most common form of heart disease? Regardless of your age or condition, adding Cardio for Life to your daily regime will dramatically improve your cardiovascular condition. Cardio for Life has been the top-selling L-arginine product in the marketplace now for more than 3 years. It is also the top-selling product at VitalNutritionStore.com. Formulated by Dr. Harry Elwart, the best-selling author of Let's Stop the #1 Killer of Americans Today, Dr. Harry believes together we can prevent and reverse heart disease. Cardio for Life comes in 3 wonderful flavors: orange, peach, and grape, and is gluten-free, sugar-free, and sodium-free. Please see our complete line of natural products at vitalnutritionstore.com. That's VITAL nutritionstore.com.
Randy Roach shocked the world with the release of his first volume of Muscle, Smoke, and Mirrors several years ago. It was a masterpiece of over 500 pages with such in-depth research and detail that it was not only surprising, but shocking and mind-blowing. It was truly one of the best Iron Game history books ever written. He followed that with Volume 2, another epic book with over 700 pages of equal depth and detail. All serious Iron Game fans need to have these books. Please visit Randy's website at randyroach.ca. That's randyroach.ca.
Listen to how Iron Game legend and the Iron Master editor Osmo Kehaw describes the book Supernatural Strength. Have you ever wondered how much real-world experience authors have when they write books about weight training? Who is that person behind the computer? What do they really know about the Iron Game? If you picked up this book, Supernatural Strength, you have definitely come to the right place. The author, Bob Whelan, has spent several decades in the Iron Game trenches training himself, competing and coaching in powerlifting, earning academic credentials too numerous to mention, and thousands of hours of training and instructing athletes and trainees of all levels at his Washington, D.C. gym since 1990. He's not only devoted his life to motivating and pushing people to heights they have never been to, but elevating the trainees' understanding why certain methods work better than others. Bob is one of the most respected and revered trainers in the business today. This book is sure to surprise and amaze you at the same time. Order now at supernaturalstrength.com. That's supernaturalstrength.com.
Don't you think it would be so much easier getting into shape if you had a personal coach? Just like all the celebrities do. Well, now you can. Bob Whelan of webstrengthcoach.com wants to get you out of your rut and coach you to success. He's dedicated to helping you achieve your strength and fitness goals through your hard work and his expert guidance. Bob will help you with strength training, muscle building, fitness, nutrition, and motivation. He'll make sure you achieve your maximum physical potential. You can get one-on-one training with Bob through his website, webstrengthcoach.com. He will develop a personalized program tailored to your individual needs. A program right for you. Bob will give you feedback after every workout. This is old school fitness and nutrition. No fads and no gimmicks. Bob will use proven natural techniques to make sure you are satisfied. So visit webstrengthcoach.com today and let Bob help you reach your best self. webstrengthcoach.com.
Do you enjoy history without social engineering? Reading about our founding fathers? Economics from a capitalist perspective? Wisdom from modern patriots? Welcome to UncleSamBooks.com, where virtues like rugged individualism, hard work, and the American dream dominate. UncleSamBooks.com. Great books for homeschooling. UncleSamBooks.com.
If you want to become as strong and muscular as possible with health in mind, and without lowering yourself to using steroids, the best advice can be found in the classic strongman books of long ago. These are the best books ever written on the subjects of strength training, weightlifting, strongman training, Iron Game history, and old-time physical culture. Many of them can still be found at physicalculturebooks.com. There you will find good, honest, time-tested wisdom from the great old-time strongmen. To maximize your natural muscular and strength potential, please visit physicalculturebooks.com.
Listen to Ken Manny, head strength and conditioning coach at Michigan State University, describe the book Iron Nation. A masterpiece text on some of the most intriguing and compelling personal stories, Iron Game history, and gut-wrenching training routines ever put to paper. If you truly love hard training without all the frills of pomp and circumstance so common today, you will love Iron Nation. Written by lifters for lifters. If you love weight training, you will love Iron Nation. Order now at ironnation.com. That's IRON Nation.com.
If you would like to promote your business on MindForce Radio, we would love to hear from you. Please let us know if you are interested in a 30 or 60-second voice commercial or a banner website ad. Please contact Bob using the contact information provided on mindforceradio.com.
You're listening to Natural Strength Night on Mind Force Radio.
One movement I can't do, if I try doing like upright rows with a barbell, it kills my shoulders. I hate that. I cannot do them. I can't do them. I remember years ago, Drew bought a deadlift, the hammer strength deadlift machine. I couldn't use that thing either. Every time I used it, I wound up hurting my back. I did not use it. So I stopped. After getting hurt twice, you say to yourself, all right, well, this isn't working. Let's try something else. So, like I said, with good mornings, I never had a problem. Bent over rows, I never had a problem. And even today, we talk about things that go on in the gym, and you don't see it, but if you go to a commercial gym, you see this guys doing bent over rows entirely the wrong way. They don't bend over. They bend over maybe like a quarter of a way. They bend over slightly. They take an underhand grip. They pull the bar into their waist. It's not an effective back exercise. It might be working their arms.
Their knees aren't bent enough either, right? Their knees aren't bent enough. Their knees are almost like straight, and they wonder why they hurt their back.
Yeah, it's maybe they see it, maybe they picked it up in a magazine or something, but it's the best. You bend over, you grab the bar, you pull it, and you bend your knees, you pull it a little bit. It's not going to be a perfectly strict exercise, but you can use a lot of weight, you can push it, and like anything else, if it works for you, continue doing it. But you have to continue, and you mentioned this before, you have to push the poundage. You have to add weight. When it gets easy, you have to challenge yourself. You have to add weight. And progression is the key. You have to to work harder, but you have to force the poundages. It's called progressive resistance. It's not called stagnant resistance. It's progressive. You're pushing yourself.
That's right. Yeah, one of my pet peeves, you just reminded me, when you see people doing the bent over row, they're usually heaving it and just yanking it, and they're giving an initial heave and yank, and then the bar is kind of flying up against gravity on its own, where your muscles aren't really controlling it. They're not really tense when they're pulling it up. It's just an initial yank, and then the bar flies up in the air, and they kind of bounce it off their stomach. You know what I mean? So it's like a heave, and the bar bounces off their stomach and then comes right down again. You get a lot better results if you pull it up under control. I'm not saying slow, but hold it a split second. Just try to have a split second where you're holding that bar before you let it down. That makes a big difference.
Makes a big difference, and it also decreases the chance that you're going to get hurt, because we all know once you start jerking things and try heaving things, you're inviting injury, and now you've just taken a great movement and you hurt yourself, and you're not going to get the results that you want. So, and getting hurt is a drag. Nobody wants to do that. By doing it, like you said, you hold it, or any exercise. When you bench press, lower the bar, pause at the chest, lock it out, and hold it. I'm not saying you hold it for 20 seconds. You just hold it enough, and you control the weight. Don't let the weight control you. Don't bounce it off your chest, right? It doesn't have to be a picture-perfect competition powerlifting bench press, but do it under control. Lower it, pause, lock it out, hold, repeat.
I always try to have a split-second pause in the mid-range. I try to pause for a split second before I lower the weight. On bench press, I'm real strict. I come down to my lower chest, and I pause the bar. And just like you and me know from powerlifting, I mean, all the different judges, they're completely different. Some judges make you pause for a long time. Others don't make you pause at all. So you have to train to be ready for the strict judge. So I used to pause for at least 2 seconds on my chest before I'd push it up. It's a good habit to get into, to train in a stricter way. Like don't bounce and yank the weights around, because the stricter you train, the better results you're going to get. If you're just bouncing and throwing stuff around, you're going to get hurt, and you're only fooling yourself because you're not really lifting it properly.
I used to do the exact same thing. We used to train at Bruno's. We always paused for 2 or 3 seconds because you never knew what kind of a judge you would get, and we always liked to have, the strictest bench we did was in the gym. So when you went to a contest, the pause that you would get from the head judge would always seem shorter by comparison compared to what we trained.
That's exactly right.
And and to this day, that's how I do it. You go to a gym and you see guys benching now. They bounce it off their chest. They don't lock it out. They have their training partner help them lift it off, and they call it a bench press, and it's not. And it's even some of the things you see on you go on YouTube and you see about so and so just benched so and so benches 700 pounds, and you read, oh wow, okay, let me look at this. See the guy, he's got 2 or 3 training partners helping him lift the bar. He bounces it off his chest, never locks it out because his friends take it halfway up, and they call that a bench press. And sorry to say, it's not. And
right.
Also, the last powerlifting contest I went to, the last couple I went to, which was a few years ago, the judging was such a joke. It's nothing compared to what the sport was meant to be. It's guys squatting high, no pauses on the bench press, and not even to mention the equipment. But it's just it's become a joke. Sorry to say.
One of my pet peeves: people don't lock out anymore. There's a new definition of lockout, which is a negative term. So you always hear people say, don't lock out because you're going to hurt yourself. You want to keep constant tension on the muscle, so don't lock out. So what they do is almost every single lift, no matter what it is, you go to the gym, they're only doing about 3/4 of the lift, if that, sometimes only half the lift. Whether it's an assistance exercise or a main exercise, it doesn't matter. Most people in the gym, you could take any exercise. Let's say an assistance, let's just say tricep push downs, right? Well, they're only going about halfway up, and then they're only going about 2/3 of the way down. So they're actually only moving it about 6 inches at the most. That's just an assistance exercise. Now, on a military press, they only go about 3/4 of the way up because they don't want to lock out because they somehow think that's bad for their joint or something. But I think someone 20 years ago wrote an article about locking out can be damaging to the joint. And I wrote an article about this in the Iron Master back in 1995, I think it was. But I was trying to explain the difference between forceful lockout versus regular lockout. You shouldn't be able to notice it with the naked eye. It just means don't hyperextend. Don't hyperextend and forcefully grind your joint. No one with common sense would ever even do that. So just reading it is negative because it's going to make people not train properly. So now over the years, people have taken that and they've gone to the extreme to the point where now they're only doing half to 3/4 of the exercise because they don't lock out anymore.
Well, I guess continuous tension, or is this has anything to do with that time under tension theory that I think I might have read about, that you keep your muscle under continuous tension and it's supposedly better for you? I never understood it, but then again, I don't understand. I don't understand what does buff mean, or what does jacked mean? You hear guys, I want to get jacked. What does that mean? I don't know. I never understood. You're going to get carjacked outside in the parking lot? What is that? What is buff? I never looked at it for 30 somewhat years. With 30 somewhat, what does buff mean? What does that mean? What does buff and jack mean? I have no idea.
Yeah, I think it's I think to the toners it means muscular.
I don't know. You see a lot of toners and pump. You're going to have that in every gym, no matter where you go. And I always write that it's the people who have the luxury of being able to train at home exclusively, you really miss out on having to deal with a lot of what you see in the gym, the toners and the posers and the pumpers and everything else. It's it's a big difference training at home and training in the gym. I mean, if you know what you're doing and if you're good at ignoring a lot of silliness, then it's, a commercial gym is a good move. But, some of the things you say just make you laugh. It really does.
Right. For those out there who do believe in the constant tension theory, who want to keep constant tension on your muscles, well, that doesn't mean to cut half of the range of motion out, okay? So if you do want to keep constant tension on an exercise, it means that you barely can see the cutout of the movement with the naked eye. So if you're doing a military press, you're still going to go 99% of the way up. You're just cutting a fraction of it out that you can barely see with the naked eye unless you were staring at it and studying it. So if you saw someone training, he'd go all the way up with a slight pause, under control, and then down slow, and you would keep constant tension, but you would not cut the range of motion out so that you're only going about 3/4 of the way up. That's what we're talking about.
I think, too, is you can do that. That's sort of using a machine, and there are a lot of good machines out there that you can use that for. And I think Drew, when he had his Med-X, his squat machine, his leg machine, he had me on there one day, and he said it so that, you went all the way down, your knees were in your armpits, and then when you pressed away, it was a leg press machine, you didn't completely lock out your knee. You got to a point about like 99% of lockout, so you didn't lock out the knee, because what you would do when you did high reps, when you locked out, you would rest for a few seconds, take a few breaths, and then resume the set. He didn't want you resting at all. He wanted you working continuously. So you push it out to like 99%. You weren't getting any rest when you're almost locked out. You're still under stress, under tension, whatever you want to call it. And then you would continue the set until you did your 20 or 30 reps. And it was a Med-X leg press, I think it was. It was an excellent machine. And he got great results with it. And sometimes too, when he had the hammer leg strength machine, he'd do a similar thing. He wouldn't let you lock it out and just rest for 10 seconds, right? When you locked it out, you lowered the weight again all the way down. Everything was under control. So I guess you could say that was continuous tension, but it wasn't. We did full reps. I mean, when you did a leg press at Drew's, your knees were completely, like they were into your armpits, and then you moved the weight under control. You moved fast.
Right. You didn't cut out a third of the range of motion. You still went 99% of the way up. You went full range of motion, and whatever range of motion you were taking out to keep constant tension was barely visible to the naked eye. You were just slightly a fraction of not locking out, just to keep that tension on there, but you weren't you weren't cutting the range of motion by 25%.
Right, exactly.
Right.
You're doing a full rep.
So that's what guys in the gym do now. Just like what you were talking about, they go to the gym and they're only doing half reps.
It's a half rep, and you're not getting the benefit of the exercise. If you were doing partials on a power rack, that's a different story. But when you're only doing, and then half the time their training partners are helping them complete the set anyway. So it's I don't understand the whole theory of it. I mean, sometimes it's you don't want to train in the vacuum, but sometimes when you're exposed to too many of what you see at a typical commercial gym, you're better off training by yourself sometimes.
What assistance exercises worked best for you when you were competing in powerlifting?
I like to use the power rack a lot. For a meet, if I was training for a contest, I used it for all three lifts: squat, the bench, the dead. For squatting, I would set it at two different heights. I would set it at around 42 inches, which would give me about a little bit deeper than a half squat. I'm about 6 feet tall, so I would set it at 42 inches. And then I would set it, the other depth I would set it would be low, to the point where the bar would be, I would be a little bit lower than parallel. So I would set up those two positions. I would start with the high bar squat. I would do several sets, and then I would do from the low position. And it's basically what I did for the squat. For bench pressing, my favorite assistance exercise was also rack lockouts. I would set the bar about halfway up. I was always strong off the chest. My lockout was always a little bit. If I had a weak point of the bench press, it was locking it out. So I would set the bar about halfway up, and I would do my sets, from there. And then what I would do afterwards, I would set the pins slightly below my chest. I would just do bench presses with an extra long pause. I would lower it down, and I would just keep it on my chest for anywhere from 5 to 10 seconds, and then push it up. And if I did that, I was usually in a power rack, but I usually had somebody spotting me too, just to make sure. And most of the time, if it was at Bruno's, it was with Larry or one of the other guys from the gym. We'd work it like that. We do the two positions, high and low. And then for the deadlift, my favorite assistance exercise for the deadlift was deadlifts off a block. We'd have a 12-inch or a 16-inch plywood block. Place the bar on top of it, and you just bend all the way down and pull it up. It wasn't just a stiff-legged deadlift. Our knees were slightly bent, but we work up. We do sets of anywhere from 3 to 6. I would do that, and my other exercise that I like to do, I still like to do to this day, is I mentioned this before, with the good mornings. Slightly bent knees. I would take a squat stance, and I would slightly bend my knees, and I did sets. I would do 3 or 4 sets of them. I work up to a heavy weight. So those are my two favorite assistance exercises for the dead.
Yeah, let me rephrase the question. For the squat and for the bench press, not variations of those exercises, right? So what other exercises were your favorite assistance exercises? What other exercises did you do to help your bench press, and what other exercises did you do? When you were powerlifting. So I guess right now you've done good mornings, because that's a different exercise that's helped your powerlifting. Did you ever do close grip bench, or what other exercises that weren't the big three that you do that helped your powerlifting? Well,
for the squat, we did I do leg extensions and leg curls, and it really wasn't. It's an exercise more than it's a lift, but I would just do them in addition to the rack work. For the bench press, the exercise I like to do, there were two. I like to do overhead work, usually a standing barbell press. Sometimes I did seating, sitting down, but usually standing press. Or another exercise I like to do, I still like to do this day, parallel bar dips, and I would do them with extra weight. So I thought they were a good movement. If you're going to add weight, if you're going to wear a belt and add additional weight, you got to take it slow. You got to be under control. You have to do it slowly. You can't just drop down and push up. Again, you can hurt your shoulders. I think parallel bar dips were an excellent exercise. I like using them, and to this day, I still like to do them.
Yeah, tell us your opinion about Dick Connor's theory that training gear attracts drug users, and if you want to stop drugs in powerlifting, you must greatly reduce the use of the crazy gear they now use. Do you agree?
Yeah, it's an interesting theory, and he probably is right. It's probably an accurate statement, because if you think about it, the whole idea of using the equipment is you're trying to lift as much weight as possible. You're trying to elevate and add as much weight to each lift as you can. And it's the same theory behind, taking steroids. You're trying to increase your lift, and you'll use whatever means is necessary, whether it be a pill or a shot or a bench shirt or a super-duper double denim bench shirt or whatever it is. The whole idea is to lift more and more. So I guess it does make some sense. I guess he might be onto something with that. But you think about it, the end justifies the means. Whatever it takes to hoist more weight in the bench or haul up more weight in the deadlift, whatever it takes to do that, you're going to do it. So I guess if you get rid of one, you get rid of the other. It might make some sense. Yeah, I think you might be right.
Yeah, Jim, we have time for one last one. How do you train your grip?
I like the grippers, the Captains of Crush grippers. I like them. I think I get a kick out of them. I keep a set at the firehouse. if I have some free time, I'll take them and use them. What I'll usually do them, I'll do them on days that I don't train, or if I do them on a day that I'm working out, I do it after the workout. We mentioned before that it doesn't make sense to wipe out your hands prior to going through a workout, because now you're useless. Your hands are very important, obviously. But
right.
if I'm working my grip on a day that I lift, it's after the workout, or it's lifting on a day that I'm not training, and it's usually grippers. And I like them. I have a couple of the other line mine stuff. The Weaver stick, the variation of the Weaver stick, the hammer thing, the pinch grip block, the Rolling Thunder. But I just like grippers. I like doing it.
When you use the gripper, how do you do it? Do you do reps with it, or do you hold it for time, or do you put a coin in there and see how long you can hold it so the coin doesn't fall out? I know some guys do that. Or do you, like when you close it, do you try to hold it closed for a few seconds before you let it open, or what are the techniques that you use when you use the gripper?
I'll just try to do it for reps. I don't do the holds. I tried them once. I didn't really like them. I just like doing the reps. I'll take the gripper. I don't use a set. I just grab it in my hand. I don't try to set it in my hand with my other hand. I just grab it, and I'll just try to squeeze as many reps as I can. I will try to hold the reps on on the heavier grippers. I try to hold it. Sometimes I'm successful. Sometimes I'm not. But depending on how I'm feeling that day. But I do try to hold a rep. I don't try to hold anything between it. I don't do the strap holds or the coin holds. But when I squeeze it, I'll try to hold it for a second, release, and then on the last rep, I'll try to hold it as long as I can.
Well, Big Jim, that's going to wrap things up. It was a pleasure to speak with you again, and thanks a lot for your time and being on the show, and I'll speak to you again soon.
Bob, thanks a lot. I had a great time. Thank you very much.
Don't be a flamingo, you have to do your squats. Don't be a flamingo, real lifters work their legs.
That's going to do it for this edition of Natural Strength Night on mindforceradio.com. Please bookmark that website, mindforceradio.com. Bob is always looking for new writers for naturalstrength.com who are old school, hardcore, write with passion, and have a strong anti-steroid stance. He also wants your training questions so they can be answered on the show. Please send your articles and training questions to Bob at mindforceradio@earthlink.net. Thanks for listening. See you next time.